So we are going to be prepping everything up for our Memorial Day lunch here, or dinner, not lunch. We're going to do our potato salad, pasta salad, 3-bean salad. We're going to make our bougie baked beans and then whip up some strawberry shortcakes for later tonight. So let's start by getting our pasta in for our pasta salad. I like to use mini farfelle. I think this one works the best for this pasta salad. And have these start cooking. I'm going to use about half a box since we're going to be having a lot of different sides. You don't need to have a huge amount of each one. And let's give this a good stir over here. Make sure those noodles don't stick to the bottom of the pan. And then I'm going to get some eggs going for our potato salad for our kind of our hard boil. So I'm going to turn on my burner. There we go. And we are going to poke. I'm going to do about, I want to say maybe six of them. So this little gadget here pokes a small little hole in your eggshell, which lets some of that air escape out. I think this one needs another one. There we go. So your shells don't stick to them as much. Let's do one extra. I love a potato salad with plenty of egg in it. So we're going to have those cook up. We want them to come to a hard boil because then we'll dice them and add them into our potato salad. And let's get our potatoes boiling for our potato salad. So we're going to use russet. I like russets in this style of potato salad, which is just your good old-fashioned, classic. And they make really fluffy, nice potato salad. They work well. I tend to like either new potatoes or Yukon potatoes in a dill potato salad. But for this one, the russets work the best. So I'm going to peel up 4 of these guys, and then we're going to try to dice them up to be about the same size. We're going to look for kind of like the size of a dice. So not super big or small. And then we're going to cook them till they're tender but still have their form. So not quite as long as mashed potatoes because you do want them to hold together when you mix them up, but you want them to be soft enough to kind of absorb up all of that delicious mayo dressing on it. Okay, we've just got one more after this. And we'll get these boiling in our water with our things. And this is, I always say, my son Torrin was like, you know how we're having like 5 different salads tonight? And I'm like, this is just the quintessential like barbecue feast. And I make this every year for 4th of July, Memorial Day, and Labor Day. I've got these like same kind of, I do it every year. It's just tradition. I've like tweaked the recipes over time till I got them to be just perfect. And you know, when you find something that works well, don't mess with it. And my kids may not enjoy all of them now, but one day they will learn to love them all. Okay, let's get rid of these potato pieces, and then we're going to do a nice kind of dice, kind of do like the size of a dice. And this is going to be for our potato salad. We'll also be prepping a 3-bean salad, a pasta salad, strawberry shortcake, and some bougie baked beans. So it's just all these little perfect sides for tonight. And then later when we have company over, we're going to be grilling up, but we'll make a little short for all of that for you guys to see the whole spread when it comes. And I'm just hoping that the rain holds off because we're planning burgers and barbecue chicken this time. And nothing is worse than if I have to go out there and grill in the rain. Because, you know, hamburgers, yeah, we could do smash burgers, but barbecue chicken is really only good on the grill. You know, an oven can make an okay barbecue chicken, but you want that smoky flavor. Okay, cut these in thirds. We'll cube these up, and then we're going to get them boiling while we then, I think after this, we're going to prep the shortbreads that are going to go in the oven. Strawberry shortcake. feel like strawberry shortcake is that quintessential summer dessert. I love it. Simple, elegant, but delicious. You know, growing up, I'm like the youngest of 10, and my mom would make the strawberry shortcake. And I always thought strawberry shortcake was one big, shortcake on top of another one with layers in it. It wasn't until I got married to realize that was the lazy person's form of it. And it's actually like cute little shortcakes, which are much better than the big ones. But I will say the big one is easier to do. Okay, well, we're going to pop this in my water. We're going to let these get nice and tender and soft. And here we go. A few more. I had a lot of things that needed to boil today, and I was like, gosh, do I have enough pots that are boiling for, without getting out my giant stock pot? Okay, let's give these a good stir too. That way you don't have any starchy mess sticking there. Give it a little stir here too. And we got our eggs doing great over there. Let's start on the strawberry shortcake. Okay. For the base of this, we're going to be cutting in a stick of butter into this. So we need to start with our flour. So we're going to start with 2 cups of flour. And all-purpose flour is what you want. So we've got 1, and make sure we sift this off, 2, and we are going to add in about 1/4 of a cup of sugar. You're going to have a little bit of sweetness now, but then we're also going to put some sugar on the top of our shortcake biscuit, which will give you a little bit more. But most of the sweetness to strawberry shortcake is going to come to the strawberries and the sugar you add to the strawberries that will give a nice kind of sweet, delicious glaze to. And then we are going to add in a tablespoon of baking powder. So a big whole tablespoon of baking powder. This is where they're going to get their pop. And just a little bit of salt, about a 1/2 teaspoon. Which one? It's under my turtle today. So we're going to do a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. This is just going to work really well with the, in there, kind of cut through it. If you're using unsalted butter, then you might want to use a pinch more. We're going to go in here, and this is my pastry cutter, but I'm just going to use this to mix all of this together, so that it's, when you cut your butter into it, you're cutting it into it fairly even.
Do you have a recipe card for this?
I do not, but I can probably maybe make one for it. It's in my line of requests. I did get, if you guys were on the requesting line for the challah bread, I made that recipe card up for you. So I'm sure that will be posted sometime soon.
Wow.
Tomorrow. Okay, let's get our butter. You want a stick of butter, so 8 tablespoons. But we will always upload the video. So if you don't get it by the time you want it, you can always find this video and make it along. We'll go through all the steps for it for this one. So I start, just like with my biscuits, kind of quarter your butter that way, and then just kind of cut it into it. And you want cold butter for this, because those are going to give you your nice flaky layers for your biscuit. And it's just easier if you cut it into chunks. Now you could get like the food processor out if you wanted to, go through all that trouble and cut it into it. I just have one of these good old pastry cutters, a little bit of elbow grease, and you'll have it all cut into it. So we're going to cut this into the flour until you have no pieces bigger than a pea. About halfway through, we'll take our knife and we'll clean out any butter that we have stuck between our blades. But it's not as hard as you think or tiring. It's fairly easy to do this. I would say it takes me less than a minute to get my butter cut in. For like for our size, we're going to make probably 8 or so biscuits out of this. And those biscuits, then you like cut in half, and that's how you do your layer for your strawberry shortcake. So you don't need a terrible amount of work or labor to do it, but So good. Okay, we are just about have all of our butter cut into this. Okay. You can get it out. And then we're going to add our wet ingredients. And then they'll be ready to kind of do our press and folds to make our little biscuit here. Okay, let's see. I've got my buttermilk and I've got my cream. We are going to do 3/4 cup heavy cream and then a 1/2 cup buttermilk. You could also do all heavy cream if you don't have buttermilk. That will work out fine. But I do love buttermilk. It just adds nice tanginess to it, which is just lovely. So we're going to start with 3/4 cup of heavy cream. I'm going to pour it in here. And then we're going to do a 1/2 cup buttermilk. But if you don't have the buttermilk, just do 1 1/4 cup of cream. Hard to see. There we go. I'm gonna add it in here. And now I'm gonna just take my fork and we're just gonna kind of stir it together with the fork. And it should give us kind of like a sort of a little bit of a dry shag. Don't mix it with it. Once you've got the shag together, which is this crumbly mess, then what we're going to do is we're going to turn it out onto our counter and we're going to do our press and folds. And this is where we're going to get our biscuits. So press and fold. Don't knead it. You just are going to pick it up and fold it on top of each other. And this is going to, just like the biscuits you bake in the oven, this is going to give you the flaky layers of your shortcake, which is, trust me, is going to be heaven. And any of those crumbly bits, just push them back in here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to kind of press everything out to about 1 inch, 1.5 inches. They don't have to be super thick because they will pop up, of course. There we go. Can I get any of those little bits off of me? So I'm going to press this out and then we'll cut and then we'll do our last ones will kind of be our Frankenstein shortcakes. Get all those tasty pieces off of me. I'm going to give my pasta just a quick stir and my potatoes, you just don't want any of them to stick to the bottom. Okay, we've got our baking sheet lined with parchment paper. Just gonna move this stuff out of the way since we don't need it right now. And then I've got, this is about a 2.5 inch, maybe a 3 inch biscuit cutter. So these are gonna give you nice big shortcakes. Don't scrimp on them. You can even see the flaky layers in there from the press and folds. So kind of, you see all those little lines in there, that's gonna bake up just absolutely beautifully. So we'll cut these out. We're probably gonna try to do 3 and then 2 in the middle. We'll see. And if you don't have a biscuit cutter, you could always use a knife and cut squares. That is always a great option. Or you can, I will say some people like to do the whole mug and things, but sometimes it will get stuck inside a mug or a glass. So I always say just opt for cutting it as a square versus trying to use a circular thing. Let's see, we can press these guys together. Now these that you press together don't ever turn out quite as pretty looking as your original ones because they have like kind of a seam in it. So, but we will get this. I think it looks like I'm going to get 7 out of here, which will be fine. My 15-year-old daughter, I don't know what's wrong with her, but she does not like strawberry shortcake. She just eats the strawberries with whipped cream, which are pretty good. Okay. I'm going to see if this one, I'm going to press, but it's going to be a mutant one. I can tell you that already. But you don't want to knead it anymore. You want to minimize that. There we go. I'm actually going to find my thinnest one and put it in the middle because the thinner ones won't bake up or will bake up less in the middle than they do on the outside. We're going to brush this with cream and sprinkle a little bit of sugar over it. So let me grab a little bowl. You just need about a tablespoon of cream. You don't need much. And then you'll sprinkle some granulated sugar, and that's going to give you a nice kind of crisp, crunchy sugar crunch to it. So let me dabble this here. And nice little smattering. And then before I sprinkle the sugar on, I want to test my noodles and see how they're cooking. You want to cook them to an al dente. They need a minute longer. I wanted to just make sure I had a minute. I thought I did, but I wanted to make sure. Okay. And now we're going to just take a little bit of sugar and sprinkle over the top. And this is going to give you a little bit more sugar to your strawberry shortcake that is a very mild sweetness to it. But then we're going to make our strawberries with like sugar and some lemon juice, and those will be perfect. Because that after the strawberries sweat with the sugar, they have this, just make like a lovely kind of sauce, I should say. There we go. Let's pop these in the oven. These are going to bake at 400 for about 17 minutes. And they'll pop up and they'll be golden and delicious. That cream will help give them a nice brown coating too. Go, and I'm going to put my timer on for 17 minutes. There we go. And I'm going to give my hands a quick wash, and then we're going to strain the noodles for our pasta salad. Okay. Clean up this area just a smidge. Let's turn off this one. And we're going to put them in my colander. And the trick with, this is steamy over here. The trick with pasta salad to stop the noodles from cooking is you're going to run it under cold water. This will keep your noodles firm without them cooking and getting soggy. So you just run them under cold water for just a few minutes, not even a few minutes, for like 30 or so seconds. I'm going to rest them in the pot down there, let that kind of run over them, cool them off. I'll make sure it's hitting it right there. That will also it cools them off, prevents them from getting mushy, because nobody wants a mushy pasta salad. Okay, I'm going to just steal a little bit of this water out of here. It's a bit high. And while we're doing that, there we go. Don't want it to boil over. Perfect. So now my pasta salad is cool to touch. You don't have to worry about it getting hot and cooking. Sorry. Grabbing a bowl here. So we're going to take our noodles. We're going to throw them in here. And this is going to be for a lovely pasta salad. And now the trick is to prevent your noodles from sticking before you're ready to dress them. We're just going to coat them with a teeny bit of olive oil, about a teaspoon. You don't need much. There we go. And then I'm going to get my spoon and give them a nice toss. Let's see. Here's one. So you just give them a nice toss with that olive oil. And then when they're ready to dress with the dressing and all the other good stuff in it, they won't be stuck together, because pasta will stick right together if it's left unattended. Okay, let's start prepping the rest of the ingredients for this pasta salad, and we can throw them in there. So we're going to be using some tomatoes. This is going to be, I'll explain to you what it is first. It is a tomato, spinach, basil, and a balsamic vinaigrette dressing. So it's a really like bright, fresh, kind of like a caprese pasta salad. but it's so delicious. So I always like to cut my cherry tomatoes in half for this, just because it helps take in some of that tomato dressing, like the balsamic dressing, and it gives them a bit more flavor.
You have a question? Is there an alternative tomato for people allergic to eggs?
I think they have like vegan mayo that you could always use that doesn't have eggs in it, and I've had it before, and it tastes pretty close to it. It's kind of hard for those mayo-based things because they are creamy. And so I almost feel like doing a vegan one might be the best option than trying to figure out like a mixture of like cream and sour cream, because sour cream just doesn't have quite the same flavor. I know you can do a lot of pasta salads with sour cream, or with or potato salads with it, with that type of base, but I don't know. It's because egg is what makes mayo. So I'm guessing maybe best bet would try a vegan one, or just a completely different recipe altogether. Okay, so we're gonna just chop up our tomatoes here. I typically use about 8 ounces of tomatoes in here. And I love it. If you're gonna make this tomato salad cut like a day or two in advance, you don't have to cut up the tomatoes. I would leave them uncut. Since we're having this tonight, I'm gonna cut them up. They'll soak up the flavors. If you leave them uncut, that means they won't get like mushy. They'll stay nice and firm, which will give you a nice little pop when you bring it. And this is one that is great to make ahead. I always made this when I used to work at the school. We do like a family potluck, and I was always requested to make this salad for everyone because they loved it. Okay, I think a few more of these. There we go. Then we're gonna use some fresh basil. Now this is key. Lots of fresh basil in here. So we're gonna use 2 packs of it. I was really hoping my fresh basil that I planted like two weeks ago was gonna be popping, but it is just not ready for harvest yet. So I had to buy some more. So just get a bunch. We're going to mince it up, and then we're going to also use some spinach. And this is just going to give you just such a fresh flavor. It's going to be so lovely. So just get all of this. We're going to just get the leaves off. You don't want any of the stems. We'll get these off as well. And I always just kind of grab at them and pull them off. It's the best way than trying to be more delicate and taking individual leaves off. Pull them off. It's the best way than trying to be more delicate and taking individual leaves off. When I go out and typically harvest from my garden, I'm always like snipping them off with my scissors. But whenever I buy them a bunch like this, it's just like pull. Okay, so we've got our basil here, which is like probably, I want to say, a half a cup. We're going to give it a good chop up.
You have a question. Are you making a pesto?
I am not making a pesto. We are going to just mince these up, and we're going to add them into the salad. And so they'll just be fresh basil leaves with the tomatoes, and then we're going to chop up some mozzarella and put it in here as well. So it's just going to be a really fresh salad. Pasta salad. So it's very different from your, run-of-the-mill pasta salad that's kind of drenched in a mayo dressing. It's very bright and happy. And I say my mom always said she hated pasta salads until she had mine. So it's a big compliment.
You have a question. How much pasta did you cook up?
I just cooked up half a box of this. So this is a pound for 8 ounces. And the mini farfelle works well, but you can really use anything. Let me check these potatoes. Yeah, these are perfect. I want to strain them real quick. Put them into my little pop-up colander here. Let's see. I'm going to grab pot holders because I'm going to burn myself if I don't. This pot, I normally boil things in my other pot, but I ran out of space. Okay. So we're going to pour these into the strainer. Give them a good shake. Let's grab. I gotta grab another bowl. I'm running out of bowls. Okay, here we go. So we've got them. You want them steaming hot in here. You don't need to cool them down. What you're going to do is to seal in the moisture and the flavor of the potatoes. You're going to coat them with some olive oil, about a tablespoon or so. Then, let me grab my fresh lemon right over here. You're going to squeeze in fresh lemon juice on this. And this is a game changer. Don't use store-bought lemon juice, fresh lemon juice. We're going to squeeze it in. There we go. I'm going to steal that seed that popped in there. And then garlic salt and black pepper. Just a good shake over, about a teaspoon of garlic salt. We might add more later if we need it. And about a half a teaspoon of black pepper. And we're going to give this a nice stir. And we're just going to let it sit. What happens is that olive oil and the salt and the lemon juice soaks into the potatoes and just seals in that flavor. So I'm going to put this right over here. Keep it nice. Let it kind of cool off. It's nice and hot. And while we're working on that, let's finish up our pasta salad. So now we're going to take some spinach. Baby spinach is really great for this, but I had this left over, so we're going to use this up first. And we're going to give it a nice little chop up so that you don't have any really big, spinach leaves. Baby spinach works a little bit nicer because you don't have all the stems, but luckily spinach is pretty tender, so you don't have to worry about it. So we're going to give this just a simple chop up so that it will disperse throughout our pasta salad. There we go. Doesn't even have to be a great chop. You just don't want to have full, huge leaves everywhere. That makes it a little bit more cumbersome to eat. So we'll throw this in. And where's my red onion? We're going to chop up a part of a red onion. We're going to add this to our pasta salad as well. Red onions are going to be our star today because these are all like cold salads that you're going to eat fresh. So when you're doing that, you want to kind of stick away from white or yellow onions. Shallots can sometimes work, but red onion, that's the onion you want to use for these meals, or a green onion. So we're going to use just about half. I'm going to do some nice kind of thin slices, and then I'm going to chop them up, but kind of a smaller dice. Mainly because you just don't want that red onion to be so big and in your face. I like it to be a subtle oniony. Okay. And let me go grab my fresh mozzarella out of the fridge, and we can start chopping that up. So there's two ways you can do the onions on this. You can get, or not the onions, the mozzarella. You can get the pearls, which I love, but aren't always available. Or you can just take one of the logs and then chop them up. But fresh mozzarella, not like the processed ones. It's got to be fresh.
Do you have a question? Will there be any meat going into it?
No meat into it, so it's just going to be cheese. This is the last main ingredient going into it. Then we're going to dress it with some balsamic vinaigrette, and we'll toss it, and that should be just about ready. So I'm just going to cut these up into kind of smaller bite-sized pieces. So you see, it's kind of like, those kind of the caprese salad or the pizza margherita, with the tomatoes, basil, and fresh mozzarella. This really plays on that. It's such a fresh salad. But the noodles give you a bit more body than just if it were that on its own. Okay, and we'll get our second pack in. Also, I will say Costco sometimes has the bulk mozzarella balls in a marinated olive oil. Those are also delicious in this salad. I keep saying I need to make homemade mozzarella, and then I'll have it for days, and I can make this all the time. This is one of my stepdad's favorite pasta salads. I'm also gonna have to call my friend. Actually, I'll snap her a picture of it because she's gonna be so jealous. She's gonna be like, bring me some. Okay. And I'm just quartering these ones, although these are kind of mini mozzarella logs versus the full size that you get. Okay. Now we're gonna have to try to stir this up. Sometimes I feel like I need a bigger bowl. So we're gonna give it a little mix. Now, you see how the olive oil coated on those noodles? They're just breaking apart perfectly and keeping everything mixed up well. And that's why you don't need much, but just a little bit. And that's just gonna help keep them from sticking together and turning into a big starchy mess. Okay. And then with this, we're going to add in, this is my favorite one to use. It's Marie's balsamic vinaigrette. And we're going to pour half of it on here. And then right before I serve it, I pour some more on. The first half soaks into the noodles and gives it that really nice balsamic flavor. But you want to have it nice and wet when you serve it. So you're going to do then right before it and it'll be perfect. So we'll just put in about half of it. Now, give it a good coating, stir it around, and then right before it's ready to serve, you redress it. And that's going to keep you from having, it's going to keep it really flavorful and moist and delicious. But super simple, easy peasy lemon squeezy, and this is a hit. I always get requested to make this pasta salad. It's like a quintessential summertime deliciousness. Okay. So we've got this bad boy ready, and we'll pop them in the fridge and chill him. I'm going to take our eggs. I'm pretty sure are hard boiled now. So I'm just gonna pop them in here, take them out, give them a cold bath. We're gonna just let the water run over it for a second. Speak a little bit louder so you guys can hear me. We're going to chop up some bacon and get ready. Let's turn off that burner for our baked beans. So let me grab out my meat cutting board. We'll do that right over here. Let me grab my second knife. We're not going to use all of this bacon in here. We're just going to use about half of it. And this is going to make it so much better. Let's reserve this. So what we're going to do is we're going to chop it up and we're going to start sauteing it. Then we'll add in some onions and some spices and our baked beans. And this is just a great way to take our like OG can of baked beans and bring them up a level to where everyone's are like, these are amazing. And you're like, I didn't do much, but I made them a little bit more bougie. So just chop them up. Thick cut bacon works well for this. Okay. That should be, those are cooled off now. I'm going to put this in my little Dutch oven over here. And we'll let that kind of start crisping up. And that way we'll cook our onions in the fat. Okay. Let's get on to our potato salad we're getting close to. Remember, we tossed them with that olive oil, salt, black pepper, and lemon juice. They're cooling off there. Ooh, before we do that, our shortcakes are ready to come out. Let's get myself a trivet. Guess we're doing the lobsters today. There we go. Look at our beautiful strawberry shortcake biscuits or whatnot. They've got a nice golden touch. You can see where I always say my mutant ones, the ones that look perfect are the ones that you made from the first cut. The ones that kind of pop sideways are the ones that you smush together to recreate. but they all taste the same in there. And we'll cut up, what we'll do is when you serve them, you cut them in half, and then you put that nice strawberry and that sugar mixture on it with whipped cream, and then you put the top on and then load it with more whipped cream and sugar. And we'll do that in a little bit, show you one how it's dressed up. But for now, we're gonna let those sit and cool off while we work on our baked beans and the rest of our pasta salads. You give this a little stir. Turn it down a smidge. Okay, let's start getting things prepped up. Let me grab another bowl. This is gonna be for our 3-bean salad. So we're gonna do some prep with the vegetables, and they'll go in both the potato salad and the 3-bean salad. So we need some onion for both of them. I'm gonna take off this whole layer.
You gotta count that you do so well, multitasking everything.
You know, it takes practice. You know, I wasn't always great at it. You start out small, and then you just do more and more. It's about timing when things get done and popping other things in. And you just kind of get a rhythm for it. Okay. So these are going to be for my potato salad. Do a nice little chop over it. So this is it'd be either one small purple onion or about, half of a big one. I'm going to put these in here. There we go. And then I'm going to chop these up for our 3-bean salad, which actually is 4 beans, but I just always called it 3-bean salad. And we're doing nice and thin ones because our green beans are nice and skinny. These will be nice and skinny with them. Toss these in there. I think that might be enough. I'm just going to shake them apart. It makes it a little bit easier when we're stirring later. But the red onion plays such a good part in the 3-bean salad, so you don't want to skimp on it. You know what? I'm just going to chop this up for good measure because it almost pickles them, and like kind of a sweet pickle for it, so it's just delicious. Okay. Give them a little toss there. Now we are going to do our celery, and this is going to be for our potato salad. So we've got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stalks here. We're going to chop off the bottom of them, and we'll chop off the top. That way we just have pretty stalks left. And then we are going to halve them. And I do this because I love the celery in my potato salad, but I don't want it to be a big old honking piece. So I like them diced up so they crunch and a little bit of that flavor, but it's not like, I just ate a celery stick. And I think my kids enjoy it better that way too. They don't notice it as much if there is, like when it's smaller, versus if I leave them big, I swear they'll just pick around them. Okay. So we're going to add this in. So this is about 5 stalks of celery diced up. Okay. We'll give our bacon a little stir here. Okay. Now, for our potato salad, we're also going to use a bell pepper. I'm going to take out some of the bearding in it in the middle. Give it a good shake. We'll pop out this middle here. None of it goes to waste. And we're going to dice this up, and we're going to add this to our potato salad as well. And you're going to want to use a red or a yellow or an orange one. I always like to avoid the green ones. They're a bit more bitter, especially when eaten raw. So use either bell peppers or sweet peppers. Those are going to be the best ones in here. These will add a nice crunch but it will be delicious. Okay. And dice these. And this is like, if you've ever heard of what the Fanny Farmer's cookbook, it was like the cookbook that we had in our house growing up. And it's old and it's a classic, but this is kind of based on a recipe in there that I kind of tweaked over time to make it mine. But that was the base recipe because that was what my mom always used. And it's funny. So I've tweaked this potato salad recipe. And now my family always are like, no, Lena, you have to make it. Mom can't make it anymore. So I always take that as a compliment. And we've got that there. Okay, let's get our parsley chopped up for our 3-bean salad. And this I harvest from our garden. This is about, I want to say maybe a little more than a 1/3 cup, but not quite a half of fresh parsley. And it's just going to add great flavor and freshness to the 3-bean salad. We'll just do a simple kind of mince over it. Do a scrape. We'll add it in there with the red onions. Just working on my bacon here. I'm wanting it to kind of crisp up a little bit. Not too much. It's thick bacon. It's not going to crisp all the way, but you want it to kind of thicken, like thin out a little bit. Okay, we're getting down to nearing the end. Okay, I'm going to mince up this onion. This is going to go into our baked beans. So you want a small yellow onion. Take this all off. We're going to give it a small mince, and we're going to let that caramelize in with the bacon. And then I think we're done with our kind of prep work on this part at least. There we go. We're going to toss this in. They're going to sizzle in that bacon grease, but that is going to give you so much flavor in your baked beans. Okay, got a good mix around here. Okay, so for our 3-bean salad, we are going to be using green beans, wax beans, canelli beans, and light kidney beans. So 4 beans. I know I call it a 3-bean salad because that's the name, but it is 4 beans. And I think it doesn't have the canelli beans, which are white kidney beans, but I love them. I think they're much better. So we'll strain this one out. We're going to add in the wax beans, which look like yellow green beans, and they taste like green beans. So just a little fun. Do the thing. Make sure you get like the regular cut versus the French cut. If you get the French cut, it's like shredded. And this is one where you have to use the canned. You can't use frozen or fresh with these. Canned is what makes it. And then we've got our 2 beans, which we're going to have to give a rinse to. So I'm just going to pop them up because, you know, they're stored in their like starchy water. So we'll rinse these real quick. And all you do is just dump them in a colander. And we'll run them over with run them with water. But just give it a good little shake here. It doesn't take long. And then we'll give it a little shake, 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 shake. Okay, let's give our onions a quick stir. And then we're going to throw them in here with our things. And now we just have to make the dressing parts for these. Let me get a spoon so we can give this a little stir. And mix it together. Now this is the one where I'm always like, be careful when you stir it because the beans can break apart. I think we might have to go up with next time a bigger bowl. Okay. I'll start with that and then we'll make our little dressing to go over it.
Do you have a question? Do the kids eat all of these?
They do in various orders. Some they love the pasta salad. Some love the green beans and the wax beans in the three bean salad. And most of them really like the potato salad, but you always have things. And they all love the baked beans. For some reason, the baked beans are like their favorite. Okay, let's make our dressings. Let's start with our three bean, which is really, really simple. It's kind of an oil, vinegar, lemon juice, a little bit of sugar, and some herbs. Let's do about, you don't need a whole bunch, about a third cup of oil. You do equal parts oil and vinegar, so a third cup of oil, third cup of vinegar. And I'm using apple cider vinegar, which kind of pairs well with the tanginess of it. So there we go. So a third cup of that, so half and half. Now, some people like their three bean salad really sweet. I don't like mine super sweet, so I do a little bit less sugar. I use about 2 tablespoons of sugar, which is 1/8 of a cup. We'll mix it in here. That will cut through the tartness of the vinegar, but won't make it super, super sweet. And then we're going to add in a little bit of garlic salt, about a teaspoon. A little bit of black pepper, like a half a teaspoon, a little shake, shake, shake. And then I'm going to just put my lid on and I'm going to give it a good shake. Make sure this is sealed. And this is just going to be a very simple vinaigrette. I forgot to add the lemon juice, but we can slide that in real quick. And squeeze in some lemon juice. That's just going to make it really happy and bright. So you don't need much. It's probably about 1/4 of it, so I'm not going to squeeze all of this in. You want about a teaspoon of lemon juice. There we go. Let's give it a good shaky, shaky, shaky. And you want essentially it to kind of blend together like a vinaigrette. And then I'm just going to taste a small bit, make sure it's where I want it. But that was not good. Not a small bit, but. And now we're just going to pour it over. And you just let it sit and marinate in that. And you give it a toss and you put it in the fridge and it is the best. Tangy. Give my hands a quick wash. Slightly sweet, but not overly. I'm not a sweet person, so I like mine more savory. Now we got to do our potato salad and our beans. Let's add, before we move into the potato salad dressing, we're going to add in our baked beans. I always like to do 1 can brown sugar hickory and 1 can maple cured bacon. I don't know why, but that always makes the best for me. I think they're nice sweetness to them, but they're not overly. We're going to put them in with all their juices and everything.
Do you have a question? Can you go over the ingredients for the 3-bean salad that has 4 beans?
Yes, it is. So you're going to dice up about 1 red onion and then about 1/3 cup of fresh parsley. Then you'll add in a can of wax beans, a can of green beans, a can of canelli beans, and a can of kidney beans to make your 3, aka 4 beans. And then for the dressing, you will put together about 1/3 cup of oil, 1/3 cup of vinegar, 2 tablespoons of sugar, and then a teaspoon of garlic salt and a half a teaspoon of black pepper and a squeeze of lemon juice. So that just makes that just perfect. And then you mix it up. This is one that tastes better the longer it sits and marinates. The longer those onions marinate, oh, it's just so good. Okay, we've got our bacon in there and our onions and our baked beans. We're going to add in about a teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce, a little bit of acidity. You don't need much. We're going to add in a squeeze of ketchup, about 1/3 cup. Again, we're dressing these up. And then you're going to add in a squeeze of honey, about a tablespoon. And we're going to add in a shake of onion powder, about a teaspoon, and some ground mustard, about half a teaspoon. We're going to give this a good stir, and then you're just going to let that simmer. Okay, we are just down to the potato salad, and then we are done with our kind of dinner prep here. Okay, let's clear this over here because we've got our eggs. And we're going to peel them, chop them up, put them in there, and then we'll mix up the mayonnaise base for it. Let me slide this out of the way just a little bit. So we hard boiled them. You poke them with that little thing, and they should then hopefully slide out of their shell fairly easily. That's what makes them kind of nice. So we'll peel them, and then I'll give them a quick rinse before I chop them up, just to make sure there isn't any shells on them. But that's that little poker thing. I know a lot of people have never seen it before, but it does wonders for making sure your eggs come out pretty. Makes it a little bit easier, especially if you love hard-boiled eggs or you make a lot of deviled eggs. Okay, get this underneath. Just got to get underneath that first skin layer. This one is not doing as well. Spoke too soon. Let me just do this one underwater. Sometimes if you peel them right underwater, they work a lot better. Okay. And give it all a crack. This one I can tell is going to work well. See how that full skin falls off?
You got a couple questions about the little poker thing. Can you show?
Yes. And I think it's maybe, I'm not sure, maybe it's a Pampered Chef or something, but it's just a little egg. And when you push on it,
It's a chicken.
Chicken, yes. When you you hold it and then you push it, this little poker thing, metal thing comes out, and it pokes a little hole in the egg. The egg doesn't crack, and it's really great because it allows like the water to go in there and create separate the seal of the yolk sac from the shell, and helps make it a little bit easier to peel. You just got to make sure you always poke them down deep enough. Sometimes I will poke them and I don't go through the shell, and then it does nothing. I can always tell which ones I've done that to. Okay. So we're going to save these, and then I've got two for my honey dearest who loves hard-boiled eggs. He does not like potato salad, so I typically make him just hard-boiled eggs. Okay, let's give these a rinse just to make sure there's no shells. And then we are going to chop them up and add them to our potato salad here. So what I do is I'm just going to cut them into 6. And this is got to add the egg. I always say add a bit more egg than you expect, because that egg really brings in the great flavor, especially when the yolk mixes with the mayo dressing. Just delicious. And you don't have to do a fancy chop on this, just a simple chop. I'm going to pop it in. There we go. And now we're going to make the mayo dressing. Let me grab, we can do it in this bowl. So this is super simple, super easy. You're going to think that you add a bunch of secret ingredients. You don't. You're going to use about a cup of mayo. And don't skimp. Use the full fat mayo. Fat-free mayo is just no bueno.
You got a couple questions about the recipes for everything.
Yes, we will upload the video to our page, so you can always go and find that and recreate them from there. That's the best way. But these are pretty staples in the summer, so I'm going to maybe try to get a couple recipe cards out for these. We're going to add in about a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, which I find is about 2 capfuls of mine. We're going to give this a good stir. Now, I do not put any sugar in my potato salad because I like my potato salad savory. So we've just mixed this together. And then we're going to add a little bit of black pepper. But remember, we did toss our potatoes already with pepper and salt, so you don't need much. So just a smidge, about a half a teaspoon, and a half teaspoon of garlic salt. Mayo is already salty to begin with, so you don't need to add too much. But I like to mix it in here because it also helps really coat everything. And then we're going to take our potato salad here. We're going to pour it all in. I'm going to try to really scrape all the sides and get it here. And then we're just going to do our mix. And you're just really coat everything with that mayo dressing. And this is one of those things that also tastes better like a day or two later when all the flavors marry together. I mean, it's great right away, but it's one of those ones that this is a great make ahead, especially if you have a barbecue or something. It is just wonderful. And it has so much, like all the veggies in there give it such a good like crunch to it. So we have our creamy potato salad. So let's kind of go through the lineup of our things that we made today. We've got our 3-bean salad in a tangy like olive oil vinaigrette, which gives you that sweet, tangy, and salty all together. Our creamy potato salad with a mayo dressing with lots of veggies, onions, peppers, celery, eggs, just all the deliciousness. And then our last but not least is our pasta salad that has fresh mozzarella, tomatoes, basil, pastas, and it's dressed with a balsamic vinaigrette. And right before I serve it tonight, I'm going to cover it with some more balsamic vinaigrette and it'll be perfect. And then, of course, we have our famous baked beans over here that we used a half a pound of bacon in, an onion, and then we used 2 cans of baked beans, and then we jazzed them up with some honey, barbecue or ketchup, ground mustard, and onion just for a delicious kind of final product. And then, of course, our strawberry shortcakes that I'll be slicing up our strawberries in a little bit, making a thing, but just delicious. Let's start with our cheeseburgers. We've got a hamburgers for those ones who don't love the cheese. So we've got our cheeseburger. Then my homemade potato salad with mayo dressing. It has celery, red onions, red peppers in there, sweet bell peppers in there, and a creamy mayo dressing. My 3-bean salad, which is actually made out of 4 beans. It has wax beans, it has green beans, canelli beans, and kidney beans, and a tangy vinaigrette. We've got our famous baked beans where we add in caramelized onions, bacon. We add a little bit of extra ketchup, honey, and ground mustard for just a deliciousness. And then our pasta salad. This is my favorite. It has fresh tomatoes, fresh mozzarella, chopped up basil, and spinach and red onions dressed in a basil or a balsamic vinaigrette for just a delicious, fresh little pasta salad, a little bit different than your creamy one. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us here for our Memorial Day feast. Don't forget to like and subscribe.